We'd like to welcome each and every individual to Voices of Integrity podcast. And today we're talking about fixing things at the core of the essence level rather than the symptom level. So, most people, it seems like most of the time, they're fixing things at the symptom level, not the core level. An example of that would be a child that goes ahead and comes in and they have a sliver in their foot. And often one of the parents, often the amiable, um, you know, is going to say, "Oh, you poor child," and they're going to be, and help give the child attention and get the sliver out of the foot. The other parent, who's often the driver, is going to say, "Why do you have a sliver in your foot?" And they're walking out on the wood deck with, bare feet. You're going to get slivers. So often, one parent looks at the symptom, and fixes the symptom. The other parent is often, hopefully, you have at least one of the two parents that's looking at it from a, core perspective. Now, the internalization model here. And so, it'd be good to find the history of that. I won't go into the history of all of this, but I remember when I was maybe 9 or 10 years old, something like that. And my parents, my older brother, he was a year and a half older than I, and we were playing Olympics. This is important. There's so many lessons to be learned on this. It's insane. I mean, there's just so many lessons to be learned. So, so we were playing the Olympics. So we'd had, I don't know, wrestling and racing and, things that 9, 10-year-old boys do. And then we had played Monopoly, and then we played, I don't know, a bunch of different games. So I don't know, it's probably 10 o'clock or something, I guess, past our bedtime. And we're like, man, we want to keep playing here. And so we go into our parents' bedroom, and they're, both in the bed, but they're reading or something. And we say, hey, can we go ahead and, extend it out for another hour or whatever, because we want to play the Olympics. And my dad says, yeah, sure. Yep, you can do that. So we run back to our room. And we're playing and everything. And my dad got up from the bed, walked into our bedroom, and said, "You, neither of you boys thanked, were thankful. Like, you didn't thank us. You weren't thankful, grateful for this. So you need to go to bed now." So what's the natural response for a 10-year-old boy when that happens?
Thank him.
For what? For going to bed?
No, thank him for letting you play
Jeez.
right away. See if you can't
Oh, get around it.
get
Okay.
around it.
Okay, good. So that's what Kenny was
Why
like
not?
when he was 10. Like, maybe I can renegotiate this. Okay, good. Luke, what do you think a natural 10-year-old boy's response is?
Probably I got two, either whine about it or just like be kind of like that was stupid or
So I could see, whining about it. I could see getting angry, like getting angry about it. What do you think my response was on that?
Frustrated with yourself.
Yeah, big time. I mean, I was angry for just a moment, which is weird that I actually remember it.
Mhm.
There was this anger that kicked in, and then there's this voice that's saying to me inside my head, saying, "Mark, why are you angry with your parents? They're absolutely right. You're not thankful. You're not being thankful. You just." And from that day on, thankfulness exuded. Like, I was just thankful. Like, and so that was 50 years ago. And I still remember that story. And that story changed my entire life. There's another story when I was 16. 15 years old that went ahead and changed my life on being considerate and lying. There's another story of when I was probably 13 years old where I had a bad attitude and a chip on my shoulder. And, a youth leader who was in her 20s or 30s, she just says, "You have a terrible attitude and you're messing it up for everybody else." And I'm like, whoa. So there's a pattern, I think, of internalization. And so I don't know how to help other people get that. Like, I don't know why I had that. I mean, there's so many stories that I could share. So many stories I could share. And so, Luke, do you think you internalize things?
I don't think so, no.
Do you know why?
Maybe I don't realize the significance of them.
Do you know why?
Don't care enough, maybe lazy.
Do you know why?
Mm, no.
So this is
Maybe
like,
because that
sorry, go ahead.
maybe because that's easier.
Um, so Luke, um, he's going to be an expressive personality. And so he's going to be focused in on in the moment. So it's easier right now here. So he's living in the moment. The expressive is very much in the moment. And so when Luke says it's easier, what he means is it's easier now. He's not looking into the future. He can't see the future. He doesn't understand. He doesn't understand the future. So there's there's a tape, a book reading 10X. I'd encourage all of you to, listen to that. And then equally important is to manage up and out throughout the book when you're reading it. To me, to a couple people, because there's going to be things that you're going to miss. There's going to be significant things in there you're not going to see. There's going to be significant things in there you'll go, "Oh, that's nice," but it's not life changing, and it could be life changing. It should be life changing. One of those principles is you're going to pay now, you're going to pay later. And if you don't pay now, when you pay later, it always costs more. It always costs more. Questions?
I don't think so.
So, um, so a question I came up with maybe a year or so ago is, can a Christian be lazy? That'd be a good question for you to ask yourself, Luke. And anyone else who's listening, watching this podcast, can a Christian, if you're a Christian, if you're Muslim or Hindu or Buddhist, ask yourself, can a Muslim be lazy? Can a Buddhist be lazy? Can an atheist be lazy? Like, you know, I mean, I think if you're an atheist, your answer would be no, I can't be lazy. Like, why? Well, because you'll evolve into nothing, like you're like nothing. I don't know. Anyways, but for a Christian, can a Christian be lazy? Can somebody really be truly a follower of Christ and be lazy? It's a good question, I think. I think lazy Christians or lazy, like I'm not making a judgment. Can you be or can't you be? I don't know. I wonder if you can't be. I wonder if you truly can't be truly a Christian, a follower of Christ, and be lazy. I wonder that. I don't know. But it's interesting that people who are lazy will say, "Well, that's not true." That they won't even they won't even ponder it. They won't even ruminate about it because they're so lazy. Like they won't think about it. They won't think, "Whoa." And there's so much in Scripture, so much. That'd be a great another podcast. So much in Scripture that would cause pause to say, "Man, that's not taught in a church." I'm not saying because churches like lazy people. I'm not saying that. Um, I don't know. So, Luke, there is a pattern. There's lots of patterns that you have. There's a lot of patterns that you have. And so self-discipline, you don't understand the consequence of your choices. Maybe that's why you're not married now. I don't know. You have a wow income goal. Maybe that's not why you're hitting your wow. Maybe anything you don't have in your life that you think you want might be due to laziness and you don't understand that. You haven't internalized that. Questions, Luke?
How do I bring that, or how do I paint? What is the solution to it?
Right? And according to the internalization model, there's unclarity. We're unclear about something. And so it's like, this year is the year of connecting the dots for the blank and blank, for the ignorant and the stupid. Ignorant is not knowing what to do. Stupid is not doing what we know. I mean, and so, so there's questions that can create awakening, or awakening can create questions. And then and then we have to listen. And that has to connect back into our why. And that gives us the ability to see, to have insight, which purifies our heart and it reveals our intention. So we think we're nice people, but if we're lazy and let other people do the work, we're lazy and think, well, somebody else will clean up my messes. We think we're hard workers. We think we're caring. We think we're loving. We think about ourselves. But when you really see stuff and we really see who we really are, yeah, not really. And that leads to radically thinking differently, which gives us additional leverage and capability, which then leads to internalization, which leads to change. Like there's a change of heart, which leads to failure. Or I'm sorry, leads to doing. Like if we're not doing something about something, we have an internalization will always lead to doing something. Always. If we haven't internalized it, we're not if we're not doing something, we just haven't. And it should be something different than we've done in the past. And then I couldn't figure out this last piece here in the story in Peter Miles. He said, we fail, meaning we recognize that, okay, we're more caring, we're harder working, we're more loving, maybe than we were before. But the more you know, you don't know. And then you get it. And that's the human condition. And then you start it all over again. And you go through the whole thing, the whole process again. And so it's like I don't know, well, it would have been 4 or 5 years ago, because it was right before Jonathan's death, that Tom Kuntz gave me the answer. And it's like, But for 4 years, I can't figure out how to get people to internalize the internalization model. It's like, I don't know.
I wonder if it's, or if I'm part of the issue, where I come in and, if, say like the door, you couldn't figure it out. You asked me if I could take care of it and I just did it.
But it's
Or,
interesting.
yeah,
I don't know if you observed yesterday, where you didn't do that with Mikey, who's what, 2 years old? So you didn't do that with Mikey, but I did. I wanted somebody else to fix it. You wanted him to fix it. I don't know if you noticed that.
yeah.
Did you? Did you notice it?
Not at the time, no. No, I did.
Yeah, so Mikey's carrying around chili in a little bowl. He's 2 years old and he spills it. I mean, he's two. And Kenny's like, Mikey, go back and clean it up. My decision-making process is that's going to stain the carpet, going to clean it. I don't want him walking forward, spilling it like he's 2 years old. But I saw the benefit of Kenny's, like I noticed the benefit of Kenny's approach is like, that's a pretty cool approach. Like Kenny's saying, hey, you need to clean up your own mess. You need to get your own stuff. You need to do your own thing. So it's pretty cool where I saw the difference, and, there's been a lot of rumination on decision making models and why the algorithm that we have in our brains and why we make decisions. And so a lot of times it's those little things, the daily things where we could go ahead and make a breakthrough. And so, yeah. So it's neat, Kenny, that you're saying you're a part of the problem because you go in and, and so I think if somebody else will clean it up, we often let it. It's not until we're paying the price personally for our own poor choices. When we pay the price,
Right.
Ralph from Australia said, when people pay, they pay attention. When they pay a lot, they pay a lot of attention. So, anyways, hopefully you all enjoyed the podcast. I think with any great podcast, there was maybe more questions at the end of the podcast than the beginning. The more answers we have, the more questions I think we have, like the deeper we go into it. And so, the book Clean Windows, learning to see things we can't see. First thing is we got to see it. Like that's the first thing. And that I think comes back to the flawless thinking. It's not perfect thinking, it's flawless. What does that mean? It means that, less flawed. Oh,
So another
understanding.
question.
Go ahead.
Another question is, what do you do when your mind wants to rationalize things?
Well, you got to stop it. Just stop it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting in playing pickleball. I've noticed myself doing that. When I hit it the wrong way, I'll immediately internally go ahead and blame my partner for, hitting it to the wrong person or hitting it in the wrong way. And it was weird. And I told my wife that. I said, yeah, I found myself, blaming my partner in my own mind. She's like, really? You do that? I'm like, yeah. And um, so I don't know. It's more of a journey than it is a destination, but we can be part of the solution, but it's getting together and, it's getting together with other people who are attentive that, are understanding these things are important is critical. And then it's like, how does a 10-year-old realize this? Like going back into our childhood, and man, this stuff gets to be complicated, simple to complex to complicated, simple, complex, complicated. It's like going back and forth. And so, working at it, I got a bunch of stuff I need to want to get to. So I want to be done with this podcast. Like right now, just like get on, move on. That's what I want to do. But I'm like, well, maybe if you just try, maybe you'll actually make a breakthrough. I don't know. So hopefully, this has been helpful. Always remember we can accomplish so much more together than we ever could on our own. Have an amazing day. Bye bye.